Welcome back to BST, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and him on yet another episode. NFL
Good intro.
Week 14. It was a good one. We had some good games. We'll get to those. Yesterday, college football, the conference championships were good. Some interesting decision making this morning by the committee has the sports world kind of up in arms a little bit. But our forte is the NFL, the sport that actually makes sense and has some structure. Let's hop right into our first game we want to talk about here. Bills-Bengals, an instant classic. Basically, anytime you line up Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, those kind of four quarterbacks in the AFC, anytime you line those guys up to face each other, you know it's going to be an instant classic. It was that way once again. Bills 39, Bengals 34. Both quarterbacks were phenomenal. Josh Allen ices the game with a big scramble, has a massive scramble touchdown. Joe Burrow was dealing all day. It was just a really fantastic display of good offense, good quarterbacking, poor defense. I think both quarterbacks are in a similar boat where their defenses suck, and they kind of have to carry them. Yeah. And honestly, it's two franchises that if they did not have these two guys, they are nothing. Before these two guys have shown up, they're nothing. Like, these are bad franchises until these two have shown up. And even though the Bengals are 4-9, Burrow's been out most of the season, so that's certainly not his fault. And since he's come back, like, they controlled this game until the two picks late. And honestly, the first one probably his fault. The second one, even the first one, though, it's kind of a fluky play. The second one gets tipped up. I mean, I think before this game, in the past 10 games, Burrow was 10-0 as a starter. So the Bengals have been playing good football with Joe Burrow under center. So it was just a great game overall.
Yeah, I felt like all of the pressure was on Buffalo. They need to try to keep the Patriots within striking distance. Don't know that they are keeping them there, but felt like more of a must-win for Buffalo than for Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati knew that their window was pretty narrow. The opening was pretty narrow to make the playoffs. They'd have to run the table, get some help. But Burrow out.
He's unbelievable
most of the year, and he's come back in these last two games and just like he never. I mean, does this guy even need to warm up? I mean, he's just a stone cold killer. And I think that was the biggest takeaway I had, is that the minute I thought, I sat there and thought, I said a buddy that was at this game, and I was texting with him and was just, I sent, Joe Burrow's a stone cold killer, just goes down. And then immediately I say the same thing about Josh Allen, because it's just like Allen then runs for 40 yards, whatever that was, 40, 50 yards and scores. And you're just like, they're both. I mean, I don't think there was a quarterback duel that you could think of a matchup better than this. Maybe, Allen Mahomes, when Mahomes is playing well and the Chiefs are rolling. Burrow Mahomes. I mean, Burrow and Allen. I mean, two of the best. And they brought it on. They had it on display today.
For sure.
I think that's difficult for defenses. I think they're. You got Higgins and you got Jamar Chase running out there. I think that's a tough. That's tough for any defense. And Buffalo's pass defense was actually rated pretty high, and they struggled today. And the elements played a part in that. I think
it was snowing.
I think the receivers have an advantage when they know where they're going to cut in that kind of weather. Now that can still trip them up. Their footing might not be good, but they have that little. Maybe split second reaction that time that can create some separation. And Burrow just was dealing, and Josh Allen same with him. Just a great game.
It's awesome.
It's a matchup you want to see. High scoring. Felt like Bengals controlled 3/4 of that game, and then it just kind of fell apart late in the fourth. Great defensive plays made. Burrow doesn't get the ball high enough. To I think it was Chase Brown in the flat, gets picked off and returned for a touchdown, and then comes back and ball gets tipped at the line and picked, and so it's I think what did they say? Bills scored how many points in like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth? It's like it wasn't 21 points. It was like 14 points or
I think it was
something. 14
14.
points. Yeah. So anyway, great game.
It was an awesome game.
Yep.
And I think for the Bills, there's been questions all season. What's the identity of this team? The defense sucks. Like, they're a very bad defense. They haven't really stopped anybody. They didn't stop the Buccaneers. And in all these games, it's really been on Josh Allen to perform. And at times this season, it's been a struggle. Josh Allen hasn't always been able to function the offense as we've seen in certain games. Some games, like against the Texans, they really, really struggled. But it's just they don't really have a ton of like big time weapons on offense besides Allen and Cook. But ultimately in this game, I mean, it was the tight ends that did the most damage for Buffalo. Knox and Kincaid. Knox had 93 yards. Kincaid coming back from injury, 41 yards. I thought both made great plays. And then Hawes, their blocking third tight end, caught a touchdown. So I thought, this is what Buffalo is. They're a running football team, and they're going to use 3 tight end sets, 2 tight end sets, and they're just going to be a running football team. Allen's going to make plays with his legs, and they're going to throw to the tight ends at this point because they just really don't have the receivers right now that are super dynamic. Shakir's a good possession guy, but anytime like Gabe Davis is doing anything meaningful for your receiving core, probably not great. But other than that, this is what they are. Buffalo is a good offense. They're going to struggle at times because they're just not super dynamic on the outside. But as long as Josh Allen's going the way he's going, like this offense is scary. But this defense is just like abysmal. And they did get the stops when they needed to, got the 2 picks, but I'm not sure how far they can go. And that really sucks for a team where like the AFC is wide open and you don't really know who's going to win it. I really do think this defense will hold them back. But you're also facing Joe Burrow, and you're facing T. Higgins, who's a monster, and making crazy catches, like the one-handed catch that he had. I mean, a select few wide receivers in the league can do that. And obviously you have to cover Chase. And Burrow just puts the ball wherever he wants and maneuvers in the pocket. So I get it. It's a tough assignment, but I do think at the end of the day, this Bills defense is going to come back to haunt them in the playoffs when Allen does everything he can and just can't outscore a team like the Patriots. So we'll look at the playoff picture coming up, but I do think that's where Buffalo could be hindered in the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed.
But it was a phenomenal game, and like we were saying with the Bengals, if we look at their chances to make it at this point, it's at 3%. So not great, but if they win out, it's up to 30%. So they're basically going to need to win out and have some help. They're going to need Pittsburgh and Baltimore to start losing. It would have helped if Baltimore won this game because they still kind of control the tiebreaker against Baltimore, having an opportunity to play them one more time next week. So it's an uphill battle. If they wanted to make the playoffs, they had to have beat the Jets earlier in the season, the Bears earlier in the season. Those are both games that they had a lead late. They should have won. And they blew. So, again, it's a rough season when your starting quarterback is out. They did as good as they really could, getting Joe Flacco. He kind of held them above water a little bit, but it's tough when you don't have your starting quarterback to win in this league. In the NFL, it comes down to quarterback and coach, and when you don't have your quarterback, it's just hard to win. And they dug themselves too big of a hole at this point. But it would be awesome if Cincinnati somehow snuck into the playoffs. But at this point, it's highly doubtful. They're going to have to win their division, and they're going to need some pretty big collapses from both the Steelers and the Ravens. But what a game it was. Football weather. You gotta love football weather because we don't see it very often because there's so many domes now. Even sometimes when it's rain or snowing too hard in Buffalo, they move the game. So you gotta love the football weather. Enjoy it while it's here. let's talk about the Steelers and the Ravens. Just an all. Speaking of like all-time matchups, like the Steelers-Ravens games are among that list of just like great rivalries. And we'll get to the Packers-Bears, which is another one of those scenarios where it's just two historic franchises facing off, must-watch football. And this was a really good game. I was pretty surprised of how well Rodgers played. 23 for 34, 284 yards, a touchdown. As the Steelers get the victory 27-22. And ultimately, this game came down to the missed call on the likely touchdown, where it looks pretty obvious that he has a touchdown. He gets the 3 steps in with possession of the ball, then it gets knocked out. And that would have given the Ravens the lead. So that one's a rough no call. That absolutely. And that at the end of the day, that's pretty much what lost the Ravens the game.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit too, because going back to the Bengals and the Bills game, Chase Brown caught a ball coming back, diving towards his body's in the end zone. He's diving towards the pylon. He catches the ball. The ball has broken the plane, and then as he goes to the ground, it appears to kind of come out and hit the ground. But they ruled that a touchdown because he secured it before and broke the plane. Likely catches this ball, gets 2 feet down, and right almost as a third is coming down, the defender knocks the ball out, and they say he didn't complete the catch. So I'm confused.
Nobody knows
what is the catch anymore.
Nobody knows.
I don't know. I just wait for the refs to rule it, and then they either are right or they're wrong.
I agree.
But yeah, I felt like Baltimore kind of got robbed there. And part of me kind of wanted to see if there was a Rodgers game-winning drive in him. And we kind of got that taken away from us in that sense. But just I don't know. Likely, I felt like that was a really bad call.
It was a horrible call, and I mean you can't blame it all on the refs, because I did think like Lamar didn't play his best game today, but when you have a big play like that, and that's to win the game or at least take the lead, I mean that's a huge missed call there, and you can't just ignore it. But it is interesting because I did think, like, this is a game where Baltimore ran for over 200 yards rushing. And historically, in games like this where they've lost, they really haven't leaned on their ground game, and it's kind of come back to bite them. If you look back in, like, the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, it's like they barely ran the ball at all. And it's scenarios like those where it's like, why didn't you run the ball? Yeah. And in this game, they did. And on the opposite side of the ball, the Steelers couldn't do anything on the ground. But they were able to get 2 sacks on Lamar, which is always an impressive feat with how he's able to scramble around. And Rodgers did not get sacked. So it's just the Ravens are kind of like the Bills this year. They're just kind of inconsistent on offense. You don't really know what they are.
Well, and the defense has been really bad.
And the defense, just like Buffalo, the defense has been bad.
It's just, the Ravens had a really good, a decent defense. It's not the Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs defenses.
But that's kind of what they've built their
identity. That's what they've always built. Yeah,
you
go into Ravens games thinking, okay, the Ravens defense, and it hasn't been that. But they've gotten a lot of Roquan Smith. They got a lot of their Kyle Hamilton, a lot of these guys back from injury, which was hurting them earlier in the season, and then they came back and they started going on that win streak. They started playing a lot better, and then Thanksgiving, it's like it blew apart against Burrow.
Yeah.
And then it continued in this game. And Rodgers, I think, had his best air game, almost 9 yards an attempt. I mean, that he's been like check down Charlie, and quick passes out, get the ball out quick. And he was going downfield to DK Metcalf multiple times, throwing the ball down the field. So I was surprised to see that. But he was looking kind of vintage a little bit,
very much
making the throws he needed to make. Huge play late where ball gets deflected up in the air and he caught his own pass and was wrestled out of his hands and ruled a turnover, an interception. But he got his knee down while he still possessed the ball, so that was overturned. I mean, that was huge.
That was a
could
big
have
play.
really swung it late for the Ravens, but it was just a story of too little too late for Baltimore. They dug themselves too big of a hole to climb out of. They didn't play well enough in the first half, and you go to the half down 17-9, and and Pittsburgh just kind of controlled the game for most of that game. And I mean, let's talk about the horrible clock management. I mean, really by both teams there in the final 2.5 minutes. I mean, Steelers can just force Baltimore to use their timeouts, run clock, and they throw on third down incomplete and give the ball back to Baltimore with 2:07 left. So they had the 2-minute warning and a timeout, and then Baltimore, you wasted over a minute just lining people up. It's like
Bizarre.
It's like they thought they needed only a field goal or something. It was just like there was no sense of urgency at all. It's like if you run a 2-minute drill, I mean you get the ball in your own deep in your own zone. What, like the 12? I don't know where it was. It was inside the 15 for sure, and you're moving like you only need 20 yards.
Yeah.
So you get to the 40 with how much? 16 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
You're at the 40 and you need a touchdown. It's like, yeah, you were done at that point. And then, Lamar takes a horrible sack. Mm-hmm. You're just like, what is up with this team? This team is so bizarre. I can't figure it out. Is it that they need a new coach? They need a whole new change?
That's what's
what
interesting, because like this matchup is like two legendary coaches who won Super Bowls, and they're at a point in their career where fans are starting to get a little bit restless, and especially Steelers fans. It's like, should you fire Mike Tomlin? And Mike Tomlin's, but the hard part is like these are both coaches that you fire them, like they're gonna get swallowed up by another team like quickly. They'll be like, oh, Mike Tomlin's out there. Hire Mike Tomlin. Like he's a legendary coach, but it also feels like you're at a point where you're like, we need a change here, especially if you're the Steelers, because you haven't won a playoff game in like a decade. And even for the Ravens, I mean, like you haven't just had success in the playoffs whatsoever. I mean, you've made it the AFC Championship, but it seems like year in, year out, you have a disappointing playoff loss that's not supposed to be there. So I think for both these teams, do you make a change at coach? I don't know. And for both these teams as well, I mean, it's going to come down to these two teams in this division. I think it might be a gift if you get to face the Steelers or the Ravens in the first round as a wild card.
Yeah. Is the AFC North the worst division in football?
Probably.
None of those. There's not a team in the AFC North that has outscored their opponents. Total points for. They've allowed more points than they've scored.
They all have a negative point differential?
They all have a negative point differential.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
And I mean, and the Pittsburgh, it's only a 3-point difference, but still, it's like that is crazy to me to say the AFC North could be the worst division in football when you got Aaron Rodgers, albeit 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, but future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. You've got Lamar Jackson, former two-time MVP or one? I don't know. I can't remember. Two-time MVP. You got Joe Burrow, who should be MVP. With Cincinnati and Cleveland, you have
Shedeur Sanders.
I guess. I mean, you got. It seems
they have
like
a good defense.
Yeah, it seems like that. On paper, I wouldn't look at all those teams and think they're the worst division in football, but they might be.
At this point, like the NFC West, no. The NFC East, no.
I mean, NFC South, they're probably worse, right?
Well, you got Tampa and Carolina, and then you got.
But if we go to NFC South, I'll bet you have they outscored? Are they negative point differential? I mean,
I would say it's probably the AFC North.
Yeah,
because I know Tampa probably has a positive point differential, so I'd probably say it is the AFC North, which is crazy. Which, I mean, a few years ago, when Joe Flacco's with the Browns, I mean, you were talking about this division. It's like this is one of the best in football.
Yeah,
because you had the Ravens really good, the Bengals with Burrow really good, Steelers were competitive, and the Browns were also competitive. especially with
Yeah.
Baker.
And I guess the NFC South, yeah, all of them have a negative point differential.
Really?
Yep.
Even the Buccaneers?
Even the Bucks, 299 to 325.
Wow.
So,
That shocks me.
point differential wise, it's definitely the South over the NFC South over the AFC North, but I don't know, man. But you got 2 7-6 teams in there. So record wise, they look better, but I don't know. It's just a crazy division. I mean, I would always say the AFC East for the last several years was the weakest division, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's
Now,
just such a weird year.
yeah, it's all up in the air. I mean, we'll get to the playoff pictures, but at
Yep.
this point, you can't really point to a. I mean, the Rams are playing good football, but there's not a team that's like has a perfect resume at this point. So who knows where
Yeah.
it's going to go. Steelers get the win here. It's a big one for their quest for a 9-8 record as they look to do every year under Mike Tomlin. Let's talk about the Packers. Just like the Ravens Steelers, Packers Bears, the most historic rivalry in football, most matchups ever. I think it was the 211th meeting between the Packers and the Bears. Packers are like 18-4 in the last 22 meetings, so obviously that's a storyline. I basically nearly a year ago in January, the Bears beat the Packers at home, albeit without Jordan Love in for half the game. Josh Jacobs only had 5 carries. The Packers had already clinched the playoffs at that point.
Kind of a meaningless game.
But Bears fans hold on to that. I get it. You don't beat the Packers very often. You go beat them in their place. Caleb has a sick game-winning drive. I get it. You know what? I get it. You hold on to that. So that's been brought up multiple times. Obviously, going into this game, you had the Ben Johnson beef with Matt LaFleur, saying that he enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. I get all of it. It's some trash talk, and Bears fans were high on their horse. They were like, "Yep, this is our year. We're gonna beat the Packers. We're 9-3. We're at the top of the division. And we're the number 1 seed in the NFC. This is not the same old Bears. This is a new team. And I'm not saying they're not a good team. I think the Bears are a good team. But the Packers end up getting the win in this one, 28-21. Packers. There are some concerning things about the Packers. See, for me, it's weird because I still don't think the Bears are a great football team. That's where I don't know how to judge this game. Like
I think what could help you maybe with your thought there is that the Bears have just been so bad for so long that you don't really believe it.
But the other problem is I just look at like the underlying statistics, looking at their games, and it's like nothing is really impressive. It's like, how I get it, they're winning games, but then they go and face the Eagles. They look pretty good, and then they face the Packers and they battle us, and I'm like, so what is this team? And obviously their interior line is very good. They really got some great push against the Packers. Pretty much dominated us in the trenches offensively for them. They were able to run the ball pretty effectively. I think they had like 130 yards rushing, 4.3 yards per carry. So the Packers did kind of hold them in that aspect. But ultimately, at this point, even though you can say the Bears are 9-4, yada, 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 they're a contender. At this very moment, I don't think Caleb is good enough to win playoff games. I'm not saying he won't be in the future, and that's a point Bears fans bring up. Oh, well, it's his second year. He's going to improve, and I agree. He will improve. He shows signs, like in this game. I mean, that play where he's rolling to the right and he throws that ball down the sideline to Kmet, that's a crazy play. Like, there are probably like 2 or 3 guys in the league who can make that throw on that game-winning drive, rolling out, hitting guys on the sideline. He's got a great arm. He's mobile. I mean, the stat they brought up on the broadcast, like, he's the only guy to not get sacked with, like, he's the only guy to be pressured, like, however many times, like, unblocked and not be sacked. Like, he's probably the best in the league at avoiding sacks. And he did that multiple times on Parsons and all of our pass rushers. He's a hard guy to bring down. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's consistent enough. And I think it kind of showed with Ben Johnson's offense. Like, they committed to running the ball. using play action, giving him easy throws.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think if you threw him into Matt LaFleur's offense and gave him the responsibilities of Jordan Love or Matthew Stafford or something, where it's just a drop back offense, if he's able to do the same things.
Yeah, I think you saw that in the first half. They were trying to keep him in the pocket, and he wasn't very good. His completion percentage was really low. The Packers pretty well dominated time possession in that first half, and it was in the second half when Johnson had him rolling out, and that's usually where, going back to his USC days, that's where Caleb Williams is more comfortable, like ad-libbing a little bit. He gets out of the pocket and he goes and does those things, right? And so, I think what you're seeing now is very little film on Caleb under Ben Johnson's offense. Last year's kind of tape, you kind of throw away the tape last year because that's a entirely different offense. But I think one thing that hasn't changed from last year to this year is their clock management. It seemed like the Bears, honestly, in the second half, were controlling the ball. They were running like 6 yards an attempt, and just sustaining drives, staying ahead of the chains, staying out of pass blocking situations where Micah Parsons could wreak some havoc, and the Packers were getting a little gassed in the second half. The Bears were just running it down our throats, and then they tie the game. Packers go and answer, go up 28-21. 3.5 minutes left. I thought, okay, this is maybe going to be a throwing situation, and Green Bay kind of sold out a little bit more to try to stack the box to try to stop the run because they'd been getting gashed, and so he was finding some open guys, getting in position. But you get it to the 23 of the Packers with 2 minutes left in the game, all 3 of your timeouts, and then it felt to me like, in the moment, this is me thinking now. But in the moment, I'm thinking, damn, they're going to score because they've just been running the ball so well. And they did a couple runs, but then they slowed their pace way down. And it felt like they got more focused on, we don't want to give the ball back to the Packers because, Packers could go and score, and our defense hasn't been stopping them in key moments. I feel like a lot of the 3 and outs were a little bit more, I think it was less the Bears making stops than it was the Packers just not executing on plays or trying to go for the deep ball and ignoring the guy running open. Just plays that, questionable execution by the Packers more so than the Bears stepping up and stopping them.
I agree.
And so I think they got hyper-focused on, okay, we're going to keep the ball, we're going to run the clock, we're going to score, we're going to go for 2 to win the game, we'll give no time back to Green Bay. And in doing that, they found themselves suddenly under 30 seconds left, 4th and 1. And it's like, oh, what are we going to do here? Well, you still had 3 timeouts, run the ball. Like, why not pick up the first down and then you've got something to work with? Instead, great timeout by LaFleur, recognizing the formation on 4th and 1, and that's the exact play that they did against Philly the week before, where Caleb does that exact same thing. They've got, split receivers. It's a play fake to Swift. Swift rolls left as Caleb rolls left, so you've got him in the flat, and you sneak Kmet out the back, and you hit him.
Yep.
And they executed it perfectly against the Eagles. Well, that appeared to be something that the Packers recognized, and Nixon played that play. He snuck out with Kmet, and he was able to close, and Caleb threw a poor ball, and it was picked off, and a game over. But that's the thing that to me was weird about the ending is like it felt like you had the Packers a little bit on their heels, and you stopped doing what you were good at doing, because the Bears have been on this run not because of Caleb Williams. It's been because of their run game. They've controlled the line of scrimmage. Caleb just hasn't made mistakes, and he's made some key plays, and he's engineered some game-winning drives, no doubt. But largely, you've been in those games because you do what you're good at doing, and that's running the ball. And and I saw a lot of stuff on social media. This is a moral victory for the Bears. the Bears get the luxury of moral victories simply because of where they've come from
Yep.
in this rivalry, which hasn't been much of a rivalry. There's moral victories because they're like, oh, look good. They tried really good and they were close. Yay. Go on in 2 weeks and we'll beat them. And maybe you will. Who knows? You're at home. Home makes a difference, right? Packers don't get the moral victory. This role reversal happens in Chicago this way, and it's like the Bears have arrived. We are the best, and so it's like any of these rivalries that have been one-sided for a while. I grew up with Utah BYU, and Utah sucked. And it didn't matter what they did, but damn it, if they won and they beat BYU, that could be their only win of the season, and it's a successful season. So, that's kind of just where the Bears sit right now. They don't really know how to handle success very well. But they're going to be a good team, and this is actually great for football. That the Bears are playing better. They're 9-4, and they're not to be overlooked at all this year. But let's slow the roll on Super Bowl. You got to get there and do it before I'll believe it. And so, they do a lot of things well. They force turnovers, but they won the turnover battle today. And usually you win the game when you win the turnover battle, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is...
One other thing, sorry. Rome Odunze. Oh, it didn't have Rome Odunze. Have Odunze. Oh, we win. Well, no Tucker Kraft. We have Tucker Kraft. I don't think it was close if we had him as another option. I mean, truthfully, Packers execute in the second half like they should have. This is not a one-score game. That's just the facts. So, sorry.
And I think that's where, if we look at the Packers side of things, I do get frustrated because I felt like we dominated the first quarter and we didn't have points to show for it. We dominated the half. We're up 14-3. That's good, but I'm like, this should be more. And then we go into the second half, and it's like, you get the ball, and it's like, just put them away. Like, you get a touchdown there, like, this game's probably over.
And I think what, point differential, since we brought it up, right, in the other games, it's hard to, I think the question we have on the Bears and why we think, like, what are the Bears? Like, we don't really know because they've won so many one-score games. I mean, they actually have a negative 1 point differential, and they're 9-4. So when they've lost big, and when they've won, they've narrowly won. And so you've got Detroit, who's got one fewer win, one more loss, who has a 90-point differential in favor of themselves, right? They've scored 90 more points than they've allowed. So, that I think that's where it's like, what are the Bears? Like, that they're opportunistic. I think, it's been control the line of scrimmage. It's been forced turnovers. They forced most turnovers in the league. That's what's kept them in. That's by far. They're really good at doing that. When they don't do that, I don't think it's really close when they don't do that. So,
well, their defense, they just have weaknesses. Their linebackers were injured in this game, and their corners are healthy now, even though I think Kyler Gordon got injured, their nickel. But they got Jalen Johnson back. But I think ultimately their D-line is garbage. Like, they don't have anybody who can rush the passer besides Sweat's a good player. He's a good secondary pass rusher when he's your first guy off the edge. Like, that's just not a good spot. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. They didn't today. And we know about the Packers, when Love has time, he's surgical. It's when you can get him flustered a little bit that he makes some mistakes. But even against the blitz today, like, he was phenomenal. I think he had all 3 touchdowns against the blitz. He has the one to Watson, the first one. It's a perfect throw. Just kind of fades away, throws it up to him. And honestly, if we're talking about Watson, like, Watson has established himself this year. He's just a different player than he was, like, last year and the year before. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of, like, rookie year Watson when he was on that really crazy run with Rodgers. Just, he's so much more explosive right now. He's not dropping the ball. Like, I mean, he had drop problems in the past, and now it's just like, he's become our most reliable wide receiver when it comes to catching the ball. And he's just turning into a legit playmaker. That slant call on that play, that was a perfect call by LaFleur, and his speed is just different. And when you're 6'4" and you can run that fast, that's a true playmaker right there. And also Jaden Reed coming back was huge.
It was
Huge. He made. I think what are the stats, like 4 catches for 30 yards. It's not going to look that great, but he had that big play on the game-winning drive.
So a couple jet sweeps.
Yeah, the jet sweeps were huge. Like, that is such a big part of the Packers offense. They've been trying to run that with Bo Melton, who caught a deep touchdown in this game, by the way. Bo Melton has a touchdown for Matthew Golden. What world do we live in?
Yeah.
But
there's an argument that Golden ran the wrong route on the Love interception, but
there is.
I don't know, because that was a horrible throw.
It was really bad.
If a receiver didn't run a wrong route, that was a terrible throw.
Love said in his press conference he just didn't put the ball where he wanted to.
Yeah, and that's what you should say, regardless, right? If the receiver didn't run the right route. But yeah, it's like, thank you, Favre.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. But Reed just adding the jet sweep stuff is so huge. Those were 2 easy first downs when he got that. I think they were both first downs. It might have not been quite a first down, but a chunk play. So you had those 2 guys coming back, and Wicks and Golden were both kind of hampered in this game a little bit. They didn't play full snaps. I believe Wicks was nursing an ankle injury and Golden coming off an injury. They just didn't play him as much. But also Josh Jacobs.
Oh my gosh.
We had conversations like, man, Emmanuel Wilson, he had the best game out of any Packers running back against the Giants. And then you watch games like this, and it's like, okay, that's why Josh Jacobs is getting paid what he is. That's why he's on this team.
Yeah.
That 3rd and 1 carry where he gets the pitch, and he's dead to rights. There's 3 Bears right on him, and he breaks through there, goes for 21 yards. That changed the drive.
Oh, yeah.
Because he gets tackled there. Like, I don't know what happens, but he's down inside the 10-yard line.
Then you're faced with kicking a field goal.
Exactly. And with the Bears, the way the Bears were driving and just marching the ball on the ground, the Packers were getting worked on defense. So I think that was just such a big play by Jacobs there to avoid the tackles, get down inside the 10, and then eventually punch in the touchdown on the goal line. So those 3 players were huge for the Packers offense, and I thought Love did what he needed to do. Obviously, you don't want the pick. I thought, man, why are we throwing that? Like, are we back to this? And I saw this guy tweet, and it's like, it's not about the picks anymore for Jordan Love. It's just about how bad they are when they do happen. And it's like, when they happen, they are really bad. They're not like, oh, that got tipped and picked. It's like, what are you doing? What was that? Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, they cancel it out with a pick at the end with Keyshawn Nixon. So, you'll take it. Can it be cleaned up? Like the second half, you come out, you get the ball, just go down and score. And they tried to be aggressive, and I applaud Matt LaFleur for that. And I think they've kind of found their groove play calling wise. I've noticed they've used a lot more under center play action. I think throwing a lot more to the outside. It's looked better. They found answers post Kraft injury. I love all that. But it's like, you get the ball in the second half, go down and score. And then the Bears kick a field goal or scored or whatever happened. Then you get the ball back, and then you go 3 and out again. Go down and score. Go put these games away, because just give the fans a little bit less of a heart attack.
Yeah, a little lower blood pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's just that Love, he wants to throw the deep ball, and he does it pretty well, But he forced that one to Romeo Doubs, on 3rd and 10 or whatever it was, or
I think that was 10. A penalty.
Yeah, there was some definite. The refs across the NFL have been a little.
The refs were really bad.
Questionable, and it felt like they were pretty bad.
Like Loveland, I don't know how you call that an incomplete pass when there is no definitive angle showing the ball touching the ground. Like, that should have at least been a fumble or a pick for Green Bay.
Well,
in my opinion,
the Musgrave incompletion, I can see.
I see both sides, but
disagree.
To me, they call it a catch on the field, and I don't see anything definitive but that's just me.
Yeah, and it was a tough catch. Questionable.
And Parsons gets held every play.
Oh, there's a ton of holds.
So I mean, they'll never call that. I don't know why.
I'm sure there's Bears fans if they see this that would disagree and say the Packers get all the calls. I mean, that's what I see a lot of is Packers get all the calls. Shut up.
Yeah, but just go watch Micah Parsons. Tell me he doesn't get held every play.
No, he certainly does. But this was just one of those great division games. And a big win for Green Bay. All the pressure was on Green Bay in this game. I think Bears are playing with house money right now. Nobody expects them to be good. A lot of people don't think they're good still, and so they're using that. And Ben Johnson has created a really good environment there. And they looks like they've got their head coach. I guess they probably have their quarterback too. He's going to improve. I just, I think the question mark for me on Caleb is how big of a head case is he? Is he at the end of the day, does he lead people or not?
Yeah.
I don't know. And a second year player, we don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's always better for football when these division games, mean something. And it's been a while since there's been like a meaningful game against the Bears. And this year there will be, and in 2 weeks they're going to be as fired up to play Green Bay again, and Green Bay's got to show up in that game and take care of business up in Chicago, and that's not going to be an easy thing.
No, not at all. The Packers get the win, first in the NFC North once again. Balance has been restored. The Bears no longer atop the division.
Crazy how tight the NFC is.
I know.
You'll probably talk about it.
Yeah,
here
we'll talk about it in the playoff picture. Lastly, let's talk about the Chiefs. It's probably it for the Chiefs, and of course they're not completely eliminated. If they win out, according to the New York Times, they have a 50% chance to get in. So if they win out, it's a coin flip. But the problem, if you're the Chiefs, you got to hope Jacksonville stays ahead in this division. We'll get to the Colts and Daniel Jones in a second, but you got to hope that they stay ahead because you're kind of hoping that the Colts and having the tiebreaker over them is kind of your way in. But at this point, it's not because you don't have the tiebreaker with the Texans now. You don't have the tiebreaker with the Chargers. You don't have the tiebreaker with the Bills. Those are the 3 wild card teams at this moment. It's an uphill battle at this point, and you needed to win out for a 9. If you could have won out, you'd have a 99% chance to make the playoffs, according to New York Times. It's not looking good anymore, and if you lose one more game, you're done.
I think they're done already.
I think they're done too, but mathematically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think yeah, mathematically they're in, but they're out. There's too many things that have to happen. They got to run the table, and they've got tough ones coming up too that I just don't think they're good. Not only run the table, but you got to have like bad things happen to like 3 other teams, and I just don't think you're going to get. There's too many variables you have to rely on to sneak in.
I agree.
So this is going to be a weird year for Mahomes. He's going to be at home when the playoffs start and not hosting a game. He's going to be at his house watching it on television, or he's going to be in the Caribbean. Who knows where he'll be. First time in his career that he hasn't made an AFC Championship game. But hey, you know what? It's tough to feel bad for him. They've won 3 Super Bowls. It's a little sad to watch Kelsey not be able to catch easy balls that he's always caught.
It's horrible.
Where you see some of these guys, Father Time catches up to all of us, and it's always sad to see those guys kind of fade out a little bit. I think this is definitely his last year. I don't think he's back
For sure.
And it's sad. It's a changing of the guard, but it's going to be a reload for Kansas City, and if any team can reload quick, it's probably them. Just weird. They're just not getting the game-changing plays or bounces or positioning that they usually get, fortunate positioning they usually get in games and make a difference. So this is where you just saw The Texans came in, didn't play that great, but defense was enough to take care of it and forced turnovers. I think they picked off Mahomes 3 times. And late in that game, Kansas City goes for it on fourth down, deep in their own zone, like on their own 35 or 30, 30 to 40 yard line range, and they don't get it both times, and you give the Texans a short field, and they scored 10 points in doing that. So yeah, hard to do. Hard to wrap your brain around some of that a little bit with how Kansas City had really struggled moving the ball. Why not just it's 10-10, punt it, make them drive on you, but I get it. They're usually they're the Chiefs. They usually convert. So
I agree.
Yeah, just tough because I mean, how often have you looked this up and seen Patrick Mahomes have a 19.8 rating and a 19.7 QBR? I mean, you never see that out of Mahomes.
I mean, he's played like an MVP this year, and that's kind of the weird thing is because these past couple of years, he's honestly not had the greatest statistics. And then this year, where they aren't playing the best football, he's had one of his better statistical years. And ultimately, too many times this season have I looked at the rushing for the Chiefs, and Mahomes is atop the leaderboard there. And it's like, you're just not going to win games with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco at this point. And what really scares me now is because the Chiefs are losing some games, they're going to get Jeremiah Love in the draft, aren't they? And they're going to have a monster running back next year. And it scares me a little bit because then you got Rice, you got Worthy, and you got Jeremiah Love. Like the speed on that offense is scary. And honestly, for the Chiefs, like I know the offense struggled in this game. It's against the Texans. Every offense struggles against the Texans in that pass rush. I think the offense is somewhat fine. If you can get a good replacement at running back for these awful backs they have now, and so just somebody competent and can move the chains for you a little bit, I think this offense is fine. Mahomes has played well this season. I like Rice. I like what Worthy brings to an offense with his speed. Obviously, you need to try to find a replacement for Kelsey if he leaves. I mean, we've seen tight ends get drafted and be pretty good, like Fannin this year. I mean, you can find a guy like that. So I'm not really worried about this offense. The defense is what I'm kind of worried about. They really just have no pass rush. Chris Jones, he had a sack in this game, but he's not the same player that he used to be. And he's just been kind of their closer in a game where they need a big play on defense. He's been the guy to get a sack, and they're just not getting the same turnovers they've gone in the past. This is a big transition period for Kansas City. You got to transition from an era of where you won 3 Super Bowls to a new era, you can kind of say you went from an era where you were a high-flying offense with Tyreek Hill. You won a Super Bowl. You went to 2. You won 1. And then you kind of been in this era these past couple years where you went to 3. You won 2 of them. And now you got to transition to a new era where you're probably going to be without Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones is going to be on the decline. And I don't know where they go from here, but I mean, the Patriots, that's what made their dynasty so special, is they were able to extend it over a long period of time. So they got to figure out how to do it. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but I think the pieces are here, and as long as you have Mahomes, anything is possible. But yeah, it's just a weird period for the Chiefs here. But the Texans, you're now at the 7 seed in the AFC wild card. Jaguars control the division. You do have the tiebreaker over them, but they're just a game ahead of you. This offense is unspectacular. Stroud is unspectacular. He was able to get the ball to Nico Collins a little bit better than he did earlier in the season. In the past couple of weeks, he's actually been pretty good getting the ball to Nico Collins. Woody Marks in this game, not great, but you knew Spags would come with a good plan to stop the offense. It's not the strength of the team. As long as they can be decent, like this team could win a playoff game because the defense is just so good with Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Bullock, Petrie, all those defensive backs, Stingley. I mean, they're really good on defense. So as long as like this offense can be somewhat okay, like I think they can win a playoff game. I'm not sure how far they can go, but they've gone on an impressive run here after starting pretty bad. And again, this offense isn't great, but this defense is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to add about this game?
No.
But yeah.
Glad it's over.
Yeah, Texans 20, Chiefs 10. All right, let's move on to a pretty sad story here. Daniel Jones has torn his ACL, Achilles. Brutal. I mean, you're a Colts team who you started 8-1 or 7-1 or whatever it was, and now you're on the outside looking into the playoffs, which is
the bottom line is you're done. The season's over.
Yeah, it's over
for Indianapolis, and it sucks because Daniel Jones, being a household with a son who is a diehard Giants fan, watched a lot of Daniel Jones play in New York. Watched that win, that playoff win against Minnesota a few years ago, which I took a lot of pleasure in watching.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
And Daniel Jones, you can just tell is a good guy.
Great guy.
And he works hard, and he left New York. It didn't work out in New York. And he signed with Minnesota, and he sat there, knowing he wasn't going to play. But I think that was big in how we watched him transition here to Indianapolis. And I think, they'd been struggling of late, but sometimes when you start off hot, you hit that little lull, and then you can kind of kick it back in. And they had the team to kick it back into gear, and I think they were playing well in this game. They're right in it. And then he pops his Achilles, and that's just hard, man. I mean, the guy worked so hard to come back from, you're essentially out of the league. They release you. The question marks are there for Daniel Jones. Like, he's just going to be a perennial backup. You come in, you beat out the guy in Indy, Richardson. You beat him out. You compete for the job. You win it. You play well. You probably had one of the best 5-game starts of any quarterback out there in recent years, and then this happens. It's just brutal. Just sucked.
And especially for the Colts, who went all in, trade 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, who also can't stay healthy, and that's like a all-in move. Like, you're going all in on Daniel Jones, and he doesn't have a contract, so who knows where that puts that now? Because it's like, you can't pay the guy if he's injured. And so it's just a really bad situation, and a bad situation for my fantasy team as a Daniel Jones owner. Now I don't have my quarterback right in time for the playoffs. Not good. But obviously that's not important. What's important is Daniel Jones and getting healthy again. But it just sucks because it was such a fun year. It's like Daniel Jones good at football again.
Oh yeah.
And it's all over.
He was on the verge of comeback player of the year, right? Like, he was going to be in that.
And now you're out of the playoffs, and you don't have the tiebreaker against the Texans.
Yeah, it's over.
Bad. It's done.
I mean, you don't have him. Orbital bone fracture for Anthony Richardson.
You're Riley Leonard.
Don't know when he's coming back. You got Riley Leonard as a rookie. I mean, you're done.
It's over.
You're going through the motions right now. You might win one game. But your playoff hopes are dashed.
I agree.
You're done.
They might make it. You never know with JT. Like, he could just pop off, kind of like Adrian Peterson did with those Vikings teams, where he could just have a 250-yard game and win. And if they get to 10 wins, they could make it. I could see it, especially with a team like the Chargers, who they're injured as well. They don't have their 2 starting tackles. Their O-line in general is pretty bad. I could see a scenario where the Colts maybe make a run. But again...
But you're at the Seahawks. You're
rough.
Home against the 49ers.
Rough.
You're home against the Jaguars. And then you're at the Texans.
Yeah, I'd like to retract my statement. They're not going to be making the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs. I don't see Los Angeles...
that might be 4 losses.
I don't see the Chargers really... I mean, Chargers, even with that beat-up O-line, you've got next week, the Chiefs. You're at the Chiefs. You're at the Cowboys. You're home against the Texans. Then you're at the Broncos. So I don't know.
Pretty tough, but Who are you going to trust?
I see
I think
a Herbert pulling something off more so than Riley Leonard.
The Colts are going 0-4.
Yeah.
Like, that's brutal. I mean, that's a really tough schedule. Worst time to have this happen.
I mean, that's really Kansas City's one. And maybe are we segueing to your... Are we going to segue to the...
In a second.
Playoffs? Okay, we're still on Daniel Jones. Okay. So, yeah, it's... I'll save my comment.
Rough one. I want to talk about the field goal thing.
Oh, okay.
Bizarre situation. Basically, the Raiders, with 5 seconds left, it's 1st and 10, kick a field goal to make it a 7-point game, and the spread is 7.5 in favor for the Broncos. And a lot of bettors are not very happy about this, obviously, because it's kind of shady, and I don't really know how to determine it. And we've seen this kind of happen with the Browns, where they kicked a field goal of inexplicably and to cover the spread or something, and it's just kind of like, what's going on here? Like, is there something fishy here?
There's definitely the thought of sports gambling has really affected outcomes because in particular in this Raiders game, there's a questionable penalty for delay of game at the end.
Yeah.
Raiders complete a pass inbounds, have no timeouts. There's essentially 10 seconds left. And I think it's who's their receiver on the Raiders that came from the Seahawks. Can't think of his name.
Lockett.
Yeah. Lockett's on his back. Two Broncos on him. They get up and he kind of fumbles the ball. It shows that the Bronco player doesn't even hit the ball, but the flag's thrown, which stops the clock. The ref calls delay a game on Denver. And then for some reason, with 5 seconds left, Pete Carroll runs out the field goal unit and they kick a meaningless field goal with 5 seconds left. It's like, why aren't you just like throwing in the end zone or something? Like, why are you kicking a field goal? It's meaningless. And so that's what's kind of created a little bit of the controversy. So there's a lot of people up in arms, mainly those that probably lost their bet. But yeah, it kind of goes to, okay, the game's not in doubt, but it is a little weird if you're going to profit. Does that mean a ref had somebody in his ear saying, hey, you need to stop the clock, throw something so that we can kick this? And so has Pete Carroll put money on covering the spread? It's kind of...
It's like, who's involved here? And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't change the outcome of what happened in the game. It's just a little shady where things are happening, but they need to just happen naturally.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be. Yeah. Gambling is so prevalent now, but there shouldn't be. You shouldn't be allowed to profit off of it if you can help control the outcome.
Exactly. That should be off limits.
And a lot of these guys are prohibited from directly gambling, but who knows how they have their side.
To me, it's like there's might be somebody within the organization that could be profiting.
Yeah.
I like some front office guy. That's kind of behind the scenes, not directly involved, but is relaying a message or something. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I think it's probably something to do about nothing, but it is kind of weird that this has happened twice, and with the whole NBA stuff coming out with all the gambling internally, it makes you wonder if some of that has infiltrated the NFL.
Yep.
Myles Garrett, 20th sack. He needs 2.5 more sacks in the final 4, or I guess he needs 3 sacks in the final 4 weeks to break the record. Do you think he'll do it?
Yes.
I mean, he's a monster player.
He'll do it.
There's no way he doesn't. And it is kind of weird looking at his career because he's never been this close. Like, he's been like a 12 sack, 14 sack, 16 sack guy. And now all of a sudden he's had 20 sacks. He's just had a phenomenal year. It sucks that he's on the Browns. They should probably... I'm not sure why he signed there. I get it. Money is cool. Money is nice.
Sure.
But, like, go to a contender guy.
Okay, he's going to be at the Bears, So he may not
That's
sack
gonna be
Caleb
rough.
Williams.
That one might
Yeah,
be tough.
he might not sack Caleb Williams. But the Shador Magic, maybe they can beat the Bears.
Maybe.
Then he's home against the Bills. He's gonna get
That's
Josh Allen.
another tough one to
So
sack.
yeah, then he's home against the Steelers.
Oh,
he probably
he'll
gets
get
on
3
Aaron
there.
Rodgers.
He'll get 3 there.
And then they finish off at the Bengals.
I think he'll
So,
get.
he'll get it.
He'll get it.
He'll get it. If he needs 3 sacks, he can get at least 1 sack in each of the games and have the title.
And he has completely proven himself as the best in the league for sure.
Yeah.
And there's been years where it's like, oh, TJ Watt, and it's like, you've seen this year. It ain't close. Like, this guy's the best pass rusher.
Yeah.
Have you seen that move where he like jumps across the line? And I'm like,
it's nuts.
how did he just teleported? Like, how did he even do that?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Myles Garrett, 20th sack. If you had to vote right now, Stafford or May for MVP?
Stafford.
I think it's crazy people are even considering May. Stafford has 35 touchdowns and 4 picks. The next closest in touchdowns is Jared Goff with 26, and Drake May's at 23. Like, how is this even a discussion at this point? I get it. Drake May is awesome. Drake May has had a great season. I don't know how this is even a discussion. Like, Stafford is playing out of his mind. Had another great game today. Puka Nacua had a crazy game. To me, there's just no way May is even in this conversation.
I think it's just off of completion percentage.
I guess, but I mean, Stafford has 66.7. Like, that's still pretty
May
good.
does have more yards.
True, but I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, like 35-4 is an insane ratio of touchdown to interception. So, I mean, I would still love to see like a running back.
I think it's too early for Drake May.
He's good, but like I think like he
Yeah.
hasn't even reached his full potential. But he's playing really good this year, and I think there is something to say that. I mean, he definitely doesn't have the same weapons that Stafford has. Like, he doesn't have a Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. But, I mean, Stafford's just doing some special stuff right now, playing like the MVP. All right, let's look at the playoff pictures. So, after this week, the Bears go from the 1 seed all the way to the 7 seed, which is that shows you the crazy.
That's how close it is.
I know. It's insane that that's even a reality. The Packers jump to the 2 seed now.
From the 6.
Yeah,
the 6.
and this shows why Bears beating Eagles last week was actually pretty big, because if that didn't happen, Packers would be the 3 seed right now. And I think if you're a Packers fan, if the season ended today, you like this matchup here, because then you're going to face Chicago in the first round. Chicago has to travel to your place. I know it was just a close game, but I think the Packers are the better team, so I don't mind that matchup for them.
Oh, I mean, but you look at the 5, 6, and 7 right now. I mean, do you want to play Seattle? Do you want to play San Francisco? Do you want to play? I mean, pick your poison, I guess, right there.
But here's where I'm at. I think if the Packers can somehow get to the NFC Championship against the Rams or something, like, I would feel really good going into that game, because going into SoFi,
Yeah.
I know Packers fans are going to be all over the place in that stadium. So, I'm again, that's looking way into the future, but I think any team that goes into SoFi, like, they're probably going to have home field advantage over the Rams. So I think that's kind of where the Rams are hindered a little bit, but I think the Rams are no doubt the best team in the league right now. Just smoked the Cardinals. And for Tampa, you lose to New Orleans. It's getting a little shaky here. And
I know. Would you rather be the fifth seed and go to play Tampa?
Yeah, I mean, for Seattle, I mean, that's a great draw. If you're not going to win the division, get the 1 seed. I mean, you basically get a first round bye against Tampa at this point.
That's right.
Without Tampa's playing, and Carolina's 7-6. So is Tampa Bay, and they got 2 big matchups coming up in the next 2 weeks, or in the next 4 weeks to end the season. So that's gonna be a fun one to see, because if the Panthers somehow make the playoffs, it's going to be one of the crazier stories, because it's been a roller coaster season for Carolina, and just an utter collapse for Tampa. Like, they were 5-1 at one point. Now they're 7-6. So it's been a really bad stretch for them. I think at the end of the day, the 1 seed's probably going to come down to LA and Seattle, just in terms of I think those are the best two teams in the NFC. The Packers could, but they're going to need like Detroit to beat LA next week. And I think I guess now the Colts ain't going to beat the Seahawks now. But probably the Niners to beat the Seahawks. They're just going to need the Rams and Seahawks to implode a little bit. But there is a path there. I think the Eagles have kind of kissed their one seed dreams goodbye. And honestly, if you're the Eagles, even though you're still going to make the playoffs now because the Cowboys aren't really a threat, it is kind of interesting. Like, are they broken? Like, what is this team really? And I don't even know. Like, they might just be broken as a football team. It's all up in the air. I don't even. If you told me right now who's going to win, I have no idea. And right now, like Detroit's on the outside looking in, and I'm like, I don't know. At this point, I feel like if anyone's going to drop out, it's going to be Chicago, and I really think it's going to come down. Like I think Detroit and Chicago is the last week of the season.
Well,
like that's going to be a fun one.
I mean, the Bears host the Browns, and they host the Packers. Then they're at San Francisco, and then they're home against Detroit. So they play San Francisco and Detroit.
Those
and
are
the Packers.
Two big implications.
Yeah, three playoff teams in the next 4 games.
Yeah.
And you got in Green Bay, you're playing, the number 1 seed Broncos. Next week, then you're at the Bears, then you're home against the Ravens, then you're at the Vikings. So you really have right now you have 2 out of the next 4 playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
Where Bears have 3 out of the next 4 playoff teams. Albeit they're playing most of them at home,
mm-hmm.
with the exception of the Niners. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to be – there's some big games coming up.
Yeah, I agree. Let's look at the AFC to end off the show. Obviously, Broncos, number 1 seed, get the tiebreaker over the Patriots. Those two teams are very similar. They've had like seasons where they haven't played the best competition, but they're winning games. And the Jags now, they're leading the division, which is crazy. I do think the Texans are the best team in that division. And I just don't really trust the Jags. And obviously the Colts now, they're done. It's going to come down to the Ravens and the Steelers for that division. The Ravens are not going to make the wild card. I think Bills are pretty much locked in. Chargers, who knows? I don't really see anybody jumping the Chargers totally. So I think it's going to end up, I think the top 7 right now is going to stay the top 7 with maybe an exception of the Steelers and the Ravens.
Well, and if you're the Jaguars, you host the Jets next week. Then you're at the Broncos,
That's
at
tough.
the Colts, home against the Titans. So
they should go like 3-1.
You've got a pretty good road ahead of you.
Or 2-2 at the worst.
Yeah, except but you dropped both Texans games, right?
Yeah.
So so the Texans are now hosting the Cardinals, hosting the Raiders, at the Chargers, hosting the Colts. So they're at worst 3-1.
So I mean it's gonna be crazy as well.
You gotta hope that since they don't play head to head, Jaguars, they just can't falter and they win the division.
I think even more than the NFC, this is even more wide open just because like the Patriots and the Broncos, like I said, have not been super proven.
And it's so wide open because in the 10 spot is the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's like there's no big bad this year. And that's why if you're like Josh Allen, it's like if there's no Lamar, there's no Mahomes. Like if you look at the quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, old Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, and CJ Stroud, like I'm taking Josh Allen over every single one of those players. I mean, but the problem is their defense is just not very good this year. So I think that's going to come back to bite them, like I said earlier. But who knows? It's going to be a fun one to watch.
And when you look there, if there's a road for Kansas City, Baltimore's plummeting as well. Colts are going to be plummeting. So you're looking at the 5, 6, and 7 because you're not winning your division. So Bills are going to surge. Chargers are up in the air, and Texans own that tiebreak against you. If of those 3, Chargers are probably your best bet to still get in, but you got to win out, and you need help.
But that's the problem
because
here.
if Indy keeps winning and Baltimore wins, yeah, you don't have a path. So
I mean,
you're done. You're done. You have too many things that need to happen.
of the 3 wild card teams, all 3 have the tiebreaker against Kansas City.
Yep.
So at this point, it's pretty much over for them. Which should be something celebrated because we don't have to watch Mahomes in the playoffs, hopefully.
Something new.
Although, you never know. Black magic could have come out of nowhere and changed some things. So
It's true.
hopefully that does not happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed week 14 of the NFL. I know I did. I know you did.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good slate. Should be a fun one next week. I don't know when the college football playoff starts, but it should be interesting to see those matchups.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, check out TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all those things. It's greatly appreciated. Stay safe, have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one.